Welcome to David and David on Real Estate. Join us as we explore the ins and outs of the real estate market.
Good afternoon and welcome to the David and David on Real Estate podcast. And we are today on episode number 35.
Wow.
Well, today is a very, very special episode. We've been looking forward to this one for a long time because we've got a very special guest on. Virginia, welcome to our podcast. It's really fabulous for you to be with us, and we've been so excited to get this one going and recorded, and because we know it's going to be the best one we've had so far, and everybody's going to want to watch it.
No pressure.
Zero. Virginia, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh, where do I start? You know, I just celebrated 25 plus years as a licensed realtor in Canada.
Amazing.
30 years of serving our industry in different capacities. I've always lived and worked in the residential real estate space with my husband, Wayne. We started in the Lorne Park office at Royal LePage Real Estate Services. And as we started to grow our family in Oakville, it kind of took us in a different direction. So we moved out to the Oakville community and have been serving communities here, since then. But our business has evolved quite a bit. Starting as individual realtor, Wayne joins. We have a small team. We grow a team. We grow a business. Now, there's a difference between growing a team and growing a business. And then the Buzz Conference takes place, right? So we've been doing conferences now just a little over 10 years, evolving as well, just like our industry. And we just love bringing people together to network and share and learn from each other. I believe our Canadian real estate industry has definitely evolved over, for sure, the past decade. So our role at the Buzz Conference is to bring those conversations to the forefront of the stages so that people like yourselves, intertwined with realtors, associations, CEOs, brokerages, real estate boards, brings us to a better place to learn so that we can serve our communities and clients better.
Well, Virginia, let's get right back into the Buzz Conference for a second. We want to go back, talk a little bit more about your history and everything and your background in a minute or a few minutes, because that's really important to us too. But we're so excited to be part of the Buzz Conference this year. And for anybody watching or listening to this, today's March 16th and the Buzz Conference is on March 31st. So it's just 2 weeks away. Long time coming. We're as excited as you are, I think, that we're actually going to have this event. So, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how did that come about? Like the origins of the Buzz Conference and your involvement with that, and then how we get to March 31st when this was supposed to happen in January.
I feel like I've been organizing this particular live event for years because we postponed it a number of times. But it's interesting. I first met Jonathan during, I believe, our first virtual event. And it's just been an ongoing relationship building process with Jonathan, yourself, and now the introduction to, David and other people that you work with. I think Brett Starkman is going to be on your panel on March the 31st. But we've been literally doing the Buzz Conference, but different names throughout Canada, probably for around 10, 11 years. So the name has evolved, always have different organizing committees, different volunteers, different ambassadors, different sponsors and speakers, anywhere from the strategic partner to the brokerage, the real estate board level. But we've got the great support of OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association, Mississauga Real Estate Board, the Toronto Real Estate Board, the Barrie Real Estate Board. This is really important when you've got a great attraction to these amazing people in our industry. Having Kormans a part of I think Jonathan has spoken at every single event. And I know that his brand has also evolved at our events, more so because of his shoe collection, but also because of his passion to serve clients in the legal process when buying and selling real estate. So We don't, sometimes we handpick our people, but we love when we have Cormans a part of our event, because you guys are a great representation to legal standards in our industry. And that's why every time you guys give us a call, we want to be a part of it. We just check you guys off.
Well, I really appreciate that comment. We try and set a standard in the industry, and I'm glad somebody appreciates it. But we also have our personal lives, which is something that Jonathan, and the Jonathan you're referring to, just for anybody that doesn't know, is Jonathan Cohen, my partner at Cormans. And what he emphasizes in everything that he does in social media is that he has a personal life too.
Right.
And we all have personal lives, and so do I, and so does David, so do you, Virginia. And I think we all share something. We all know how to play hard and then work hard.
Exactly.
And find that balance. And I think that's important to us. And I could be as serious as they come when it comes to practicing law and looking after my clients. But when I'm away from law, I'm a different guy. There's office David and there's away from office David, and it's time to party, it's time to play, it's time to be active and do sports. And I think that's an important thing for all of us. And I think some of that comes out in your buzz conferences, because when you have people on, they're in our industry, but they're not just talking about their business and promoting their business. They're promoting lifestyles and other factors, right, that we have in common, or how they find a way to get through all the stresses. And that's one of the things that I've really found interesting about the buzz. David, you've probably found the same thing.
Yeah, the one speaker that really comes to mind is James in the City.
Yeah.
And I mean,
James.
he has such an amazing brand. And I mean, the brand is built up in such a way that realtors are attracted to him. They want to see what he's doing and, what he's talking about and what he's interested in. And, we really promote this idea as well to our realtors is, be authentic. Be yourself, be passionate, not only about what you do about real estate, but what you do outside of real estate, so that you can attract people that are equally as passionate about what you're passionate about. And now, real estate, yes, that's the product, that's, what we love, that's what we want to go after, but there's a higher calling. And, I had a conversation with one of my agents a couple of days ago, and he went on a listing presentation, and they started talking about motorcycles.
Oh yeah.
He said to me, David, we talked 10% was real estate, and he signed the contract, and he didn't even haggle me on the commission, but 90% of the conversation was about motorcycles. And I left that listing presentation feeling like I was just talking with a buddy, but I earned so much commission and I closed the deal, and we didn't even talk about commission. And when you can elevate your brand and the conversation to that level, and the alignment is just that smooth, magic happens.
I agree. And I think over the last 2 years, during the pandemic, I think it allowed CEOs and presidents and, corporate level leaders out of their office and into the Zoom screen, where they can reach more people. And it allowed them to, be a little bit more laid back without their suit and ties and, their corporate look, just having conversations with people. It kind of humanized our industry and allowed us to come a little bit closer together, I think. And, when you talk about James in the City, whoever doesn't follow him should. He brings us into his life every single day. So it's kind of like a day in the life with James in the City. He brings us downtown Toronto. He brings us to a cafe, he brings us to a spa, to a restaurant, shopping at Louboutin in Yorkville. So it's almost like we're entering people's lives. And that's what I think the last 2 years has allowed us to do. Even like having Jonathan in our Zoom screen share his Nike collection. When have we been able to do that ever in our past, right? So we have to thank Zoom for that, but also the fact that we've allowed it to happen. We've changed the narrative and the trajectory of our industry in where we want conversations to go. And that's what the Buzz Conference is. We've become known as the conference that really recognizes and celebrates diversity and inclusion, belonging and equity. And we're really proud that we speak to everyone in our real estate industry, whether you're a leader, a realtor, a lawyer, a strategic partner, a prop tech, a team leader, a brokerage, a real estate board. We are speaking with everyone, and we allow everyone into our space to share and facilitate the passion that they have for this industry.
And Virginia, you really got your pulse on the industry, and I thought that's a fabulous comment in terms of, you know, how the, you know, the COVID situation and us doing these Zoom conferences and Zoom webinars and things like that, how it changed us and relaxed us and sort of humanized us. I remember early on in COVID, I was involved in a panel that, you know, was supposed to be a live event and ended up being a Zoom event. And there was a, you know, a head honcho, one of the top people from one of the major banks that was on it, and a top hedge fund guy, and a couple top real estate guys. And I'm there as a lawyer to comment on certain things. So my first Zoom panel like that, and I put on my jacket and a shirt and a tie, sitting in the same place I'm sitting right now. I'm in my home office, and I'm getting all dressed up. And then these guys come on, and they're like at their cottage wearing t-shirts. You know, the head banker, you know, he's wearing a t-shirt, and someone's wearing a golf shirt, and I'm there in a suit and tie, and I'm going like, are they right or am I right? And I realized pretty fast that they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Like it's what we say and what we do, and not exactly what we look like. And we can all relax a little bit. And, you know, and it was a lesson learned for me. And that was the last time, you know, like.
Wear a suit, yeah.
You know,
I call it the
on a
Steve
sweater,
Jobs.
but you know, who knows what if I'm wearing sweatpants right now or real pants.
Right. I call it the Steve Jobs effect. You know, he was always, you know, he's a leader in the prop tech industry, and always with a t-shirt and a pair of jeans and a pair of sneakers, always felt comfortable in his own skin. And, you know, facilitated one of the greatest inventions of our time, if not ever, right? So he never wore a suit. I never saw Steve Jobs presenting in a suit, never.
Yeah, authenticity is the most important aspect in anything you do, right? And people will get attracted to that a lot more than they're going to get attracted to, you know, a fancy suit and a tie. If you don't do what you say you're going to do, and you're not authentic, and you don't come across the right way, then no matter what you wear, people are not going to be able to relate. Right?
I agree.
But I think the companies that really excelled during COVID are the companies that really figured out how to communicate with a lot of different groups of people, right? Mm-hmm. Internally, externally. And you're right, Virginia, like Zoom basically, you know, really linked everybody together. And I remember at my brokerage, I mean, we almost started communicating with our realtors on an everyday basis, right?
Right.
Just to create that unity and to create that closeness when everybody was feeling so alone and so isolated in their homes. And we encourage our realtors to be leaders in their community and reach out, you know, call your clients, ask them if they need anything, be there for them, you know, be that support system. And it really worked. Those that, you know, embraced that concept and followed through and were leaders in their community did extremely well. Like we're doing our awards ceremony next week. And, you know, the levels of awards and the level of earnings that we're seeing is just completely unprecedented. Mm-hmm. You know, the realtors that have really gone out there and worked hard and hustled have record earnings.
I agree. And, you know, you mentioned about speaking to all people. When I take a look at the following of the Buzz Conference, so let's take Instagram, for example. We have 10,000 followers. None of them are paid. They are real realtors that have logged in and chose to follow us for their daily inspiration. But 64% of our followers are between the ages of, say, 24 and 44. So we have to look at that younger generation that's entering our business. We've seen a huge influx of new generation realtors enter real estate, and this generation, they want to be connected with. They want to share. They want to learn. They're big at networking and developing these crazy networks using social media. So realtors or brokerages need to find a way to adapt and innovate to communicate with this future generation, because they're not going to pick up the phone to call you. They're going to text you, they're going to, you know, meet you on Zoom, they're going to DM you on Instagram. They're not even, hardly any of them are on Facebook anymore, but this is the new generation and we can't discount them. Brokerages that are not speaking to this new generation or speaking with the generation that inclusivity, you know, diversity, if you're not speaking with everyone, you're leaving money on the table. So brokerages, associations, real estate boards, brokerages have to remember to pay careful attention to their dialogue and communication. If they're not, people are just going to leave and go to a different brokerage. They want to feel a part of something. And we've been able to do that through the Buzz Conference.
Well, I was thinking of that too. And some of that applies to a law firm as well, which is why we have such a big social media presence now, and we're increasing and everything, because we're looking at that too. I'm part of that generation between 24 and 44 in spirit anyways.
Me too.
Yeah. So, but I'm thinking of the Buzz Conference. We're only 2 weeks away, and I'm thinking Virginia's probably the biggest problem you have is that you have a limited capacity, because more people are going to want to attend this event than can actually attend in person. Am I right?
We have a lot of people that want, you know, a recording or a live stream. Unfortunately, with our venue, it's owned by the city of Mississauga. So we've got a lot of, you know, things we have to deal with there. This is a live event. We're not live streaming. This is not a Zoom. We're not recording it. We want people to actually come and experience what a live conference is. You know, there's a lot of things we have to deal with too. The mandates being lifted, the passport's not available. You know, do you have to be vaccinated? You know, those mandates were lifted by the federal and the provincial government, but now we've got, you know, are the masks going to be necessary? Are they going to be recommended, or are they going to be law? So we have to wait until the 21st, and then also on the 23rd when City of Mississauga City Council holds the vote, and they will make a decision if masks will be mandatory. If not, then we can only recommend that masks be worn, but we will be recommending that regardless, because I mean, I think they threw everything at us all at once. So we're dealing with a lot of different things, but what I love is when people reach out to us and they can't wait. They want to speak, they want to sponsor, they want to be a part of it. They're loving the vibe. They're sharing our event on social media. I know it's going to be a great event. You know, we're almost at capacity. So whoever hasn't gotten their tickets yet, they should really look at getting them today.
And the capacity, if I remember, is around 1,200. Is that right?
Yeah, 1,200.
1,200.
Virginia, can you remind all our listeners what's the easiest way for them to obtain a ticket?
They can visit the City of Mississauga box office, the Living Arts box office, or they can click on the first link on our Instagram page on our link tree. Again, the venue is owned by the City of Mississauga. So they own the database and everyone who is registering for this event. So anyone that registers there has a better chance of getting a ticket than calling me.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay, and people that are familiar to some extent about the Buzz Conference, they know that you've got a whole bunch of fabulous speakers coming, like all day long. There's this great group of speakers coming. But then something brand new for this one, never before done. We're going to have a live podcast generated right from the Buzz Conference.
Yep, the David and David show
on real estate. So we're so excited to do that. So, and we'll be recording those podcasts and then putting them out there as well. So that's a real exciting opportunity for us. And the people that we're going to be doing the podcast with will be some of the featured speakers that are there during the day as well. So it gives us a chance to ask them some other questions, things that aren't, you know, that they're not covering in their formal sessions.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we've never had a podcast before. So when Jonathan and I were discussing it, he came up with the idea, and I'm like, let's do it. I think that would be a great, because the last 2 years specifically, the podcast has really taken a different level in our industry or in any industry. And I think that if you speak so you're going to be speaking to realtors, but you're also going to be speaking with the professionals in our industry. So you're going to be catching, you know, the attention of a wider audience. And I really love that about the David and David show.
Yeah, David Corman has a wealth of knowledge, and I mean, between him and I mean, we encounter so many different issues, unique issues in the industry, and we love talking about our experiences. And a lot of the times when we hit the record button, we blink, and an hour has gone by. And I love listening to David Corman's stories, and the idea came, one day when. Um, David Corman's office was about to do a webinar, and we had to cancel because COVID came. And I said, our office benefits so much from their insight, from their experience, from the storytelling, from the guidance. And I really wanted to bring that experience to the whole industry, not just to my office. Right. And that's how the David and David on Real Estate podcast was really born. We want to take that experience to everybody.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of
And
course,
the whole
being part
idea
of,
when we started the podcast was, I think we were in David's office, actually. We filmed a little, like a 5-minute thing on something together because we couldn't, it was just the beginning of COVID, and, to
Right.
put it out there. And then we thought, okay, we got to figure out a way to still do this and get the message across. And when we talked about doing a podcast, it wasn't just to talk about a, legal issue or issues that come up for real estate agents, but it's also to talk about our respective businesses too. And,
Right.
just small business owners, trying to get by, trying to deal with our staff, trying to, and as it happened for 2 years, trying to get through COVID. And hopefully we can stop talking about COVID soon. But,
Yeah, right.
but just relate to that. And I think that sort of fits in perfectly with a lot of what you do at Buzz, because I know that part of your mandate with speakers and everything isn't to just self-promote. It's to talk to people about, what they're doing and what their eyes, what's the next thing in the industry, and how other people can benefit from everybody else's experience.
It's about storytelling, right? I don't believe there is a greater way to facilitate a topic than through experiences. I mean, we can have a lot of lip service, but unless we've experienced it, I don't want to hear it, right? So the majority of our speakers have those stories. And a lot, yesterday I was having a great conversation with Matthew Regan. And when I started my career with Matt's dad, Mr. Michael Regan, who used to go to the office every morning to cold call at 7:00 a.m. And those were the days when we wore suits to the office, right? We had our briefcase, we had our nice 2-piece suit on. It was a different time. And I find right now, when you look at this next generation realtor that's kind of succession planning, taking over their family business, they're innovating with brand new strategies. And I look at what you guys are doing with your podcasts. David, how long have you been in the law industry? How long have you been a lawyer?
Almost 36 years.
Okay. Did you
I
ever
keep track of it because my oldest son's going to be 36 in April. And
well, you only look 40, but did you ever think at any time in your career you would be starting a podcast? Did you ever think that would ever happen? Right?
No.
So what you're doing is you're taking that next step, because you're actually speaking with this new generation realtor. This new generation realtor is stuck to podcasts. They're listening to you guys for direction and information and knowledge. And again, when I mentioned our followers, 64% is that younger generation, we still have 3.5% of our followers are 65 years plus. So that gets me excited, because I'm thinking, wow, there's 65-year-olds that are following us, 3.5% on our Instagram page. These are the ones who are still plugging away. They are innovating. They are excited about the industry. They want to learn from this younger generation. We can't discount this younger generation. They are doing some fabulous things, including the top 1%. I love what our leaders are doing out there, especially the ones that are growing these mega teams. These are the type of people that attend the Buzz conference. And these are the type of people that allow us to create topics and communication for our attendees and our followers and listeners,
and inspire other people to follow in their footsteps, right? I mean,
exactly.
What's the best way of learning? The best way of learning is, being shown by somebody who's already done it and is successful at it.
Exactly. And that's through storytelling. And
Yeah.
the stories that Matthew Regan and I spoke of, yesterday about his dad, I mean, those are the best stories. We have a session at the Buzz, the Legends of Real Estate. And, Loretta Finney's going to be on that panel. Ellie Davis is going to be on that panel. Richard Silver, Sherry Chris is going to be facilitating and moderating it. And I began my career under Sherry Chris's direction when she was the CEO and president of Royal LePage Canada. So it's nice to see that this seasoned, experienced, award-winning top 1%, if not number one in their collective brands, are on that panel sharing stories of when they started, but also what they've had to do to evolve to stay in the game and compete and remain number one in their collective brands.
And I look forward to listening to them. And I'm sure that's what they all have in common. Okay. They managed to rise up in a different era, in a different generation, but they keep going because they keep evolving.
Exactly.
And that's the key. And, we're certainly trying to do that in our office. And David, I know, is trying to do that in his office. And that's why, as someone at my age, I'm not quite at that 65 plus yet. So I'm not in that category yet. I'm still under that one. But that's why I'm excited about all this, to be doing a podcast, to be at the Buzz conference doing that, and then also speaking, because we're also doing a session, a seminar
PREC.
session on PRECs, which is fun to do too. But it's good for someone of my vintage, and I like the way you use the terms experience and other terms instead of just saying old guy or old gals, experienced, seasoned veterans. But
Yeah.
we have to evolve. We have to learn the next thing. We have to see what the younger generation is doing and how we can relate to them and be ready for them, both internally in our own businesses and with client contacts. We have to relate to our own staff by being up to date on technology. And like you said, they don't like picking up the phone and having a phone conversation. They want to do it all, by text and email and other communication, right?
Right. I agree. I mean, my husband is he's very traditional that way. If he calls an office and asks you to call him back, he expects a call back, not a text asking you what you want, right? And he's like, what is this? I called them I called their office for him to call me, but he's texted me back. I said, well, just reply by text. I don't want a text or DocuSign, right? That's something that every single agent has had to learn over the last 2 years, is how to use digital signatures to put a real estate deal together. And although seemed very complicated at the beginning, it's become quite simplified over time. But let me tell you, who doesn't miss sitting at the table with a seller, negotiating, the true art of negotiation? Where is it? It's gone. There is no negotiation.
Yeah.
It's something that, will it come back to the table now that the country is opening up? I don't know. I mean, open houses have started again, but those times when you actually sat with a seller and felt their emotion when, talking about price and inclusions, and them knowing that the days finally come that we're going to be selling our home. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. We don't get to experience that anymore because it's all done from the palm of our hand. And sometimes this can be a great thing for us, but I think it's taken away so much more.
There's something about eye contact that really has an effect in a negotiation.
Right.
Seeing someone's face, seeing their mannerisms and all that is different than just dealing with something on paper or through electronic means. So I agree with you. And I think those of us that have done that first have an advantage over the younger generation that's never experienced that.
Right.
Okay. And they have to find a different way to find out what the bottom line is from the other side. It's a different way of negotiating.
Yes.
You can't hide. That's the thing. You can't hide. When you're doing a digital offer, you can put your phone down, you can go to the bathroom, you can think about it, right? When you're in front of that table, you can't hide, you're, and if you don't do this on a regular basis, like I always encourage my agents to talk to the sellers, right? Don't talk to the realtor when you're at the offer presentation table. He's done this hundreds of times. He knows how to control his reactions. He knows how to control diction, his tone, his facial reactions. He knows how to control his hands, right? The sellers don't. This is a new experience for them. Use it. Ask probing questions. Look at the reactions. Did they twitch? Did they look down? Did they look up? Are they turning red? Are they looking away? Are they hesitating? Are they stuttering, right? Like these are all tail signs, whether you're on the right track or not. And they're impossible to do virtually. Like it's much, much harder to get the same information virtually than it is when you're in the room with them.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, maybe before we continue, because I love this discussion about the emerging trends and how we're dealing with it. But I did mention earlier, I sort of stopped you when you were giving a bit of your description, and want a little more about you, Virginia, and your history and how you go from being an agent and being involved on that side of it to now running the Buzz conference. Like how does that happen?
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's something that has evolved over time. As mentioned earlier, when I was with Remax, I used to they had me flying all over the world, whether it was Portugal, Spain, Italy, Malta, Germany, Vienna, like you name it. They were flying me to teach realtors how to do real estate right. Remax has built a great brand in Europe, but the business foundations weren't really there. So I developed this 90-day challenge for them. That was kind of like a foundation for them to begin their processes. But during that time, we've always done events. We would do small events at the Mississauga Living Arts Center. When I was with another brokerage in Mississauga, we would host social media events. But the buzz just kind of took off in 2020, and during COVID, during our virtual events, that's when we've set a foundation of over 19,000, if not over 20,000 registered attendees for our virtual events that we've had. But our live events have always been a great attraction for people, and again, always at the Mississauga Living Arts Center, and always catering to whether you're a realtor, a team leader, association, brokerage, a real estate board. It's really opened up to everyone. It's just kind of something that started, and then it just has grown over time. I never came out and said, oh, I think I'm going to do a real estate conference. It started bringing people together. Richard Silver started one of the first rebar camps 10 years ago. And, I think that's where I first got my passion too, because we used to go to real estate events in the United States, and they used to host these small conferences called Rebar Camp. And basically you would go in a room, and I remember attending one of my first sessions in New York, and Tom Labour was there. And I thought, oh, this can't be so bad. Tom's in my office. Let's hear what this is about. And they were talking about LinkedIn. Well, I had no clue what LinkedIn was. This is 10, 11 years ago, right? But there was only 5 or 6 of us in the room talking about LinkedIn. This was a conference, and people had coffee, and it was very loungy. And then I thought, okay, let's go to the next session. Somebody was talking about Facebook. I'm like, what is Facebook? This is all new to me. So it was Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, email, database. It was more of a technology or, new social media strategies that were coming out. But that's when I first started to really fall in love with conferences and the networking and the smaller groups of, sharing of information. We were all invited to share in those conversations. So we started to bring them here to Canada. Richard brought the Rebar Camp to the Evergreen Brickworks in Toronto, and I brought it to the Mississauga Living Arts Center. And they were always around 500 to 600 attendees. I think if I had this event at a larger venue, we could have 2,000 to 3,000, but Mississauga Living Arts Center is where it's at today, and we'll have over 1,000 attendees. So it's just something that has evolved over time. But the Rebar Camp experience is about people sharing and engaging with each other, right? The Buzz conference now has evolved to a full-blown conference space where we have a main speaker and attendees in a room, but you never know. The attendees may be involved in a Q&A session at the end of the speaker's session. So we still try to keep the engagement factor there. But again, the conference is just an evolution. We don't have a conference led by realtors in Canada. We have the AREA event, which I can't wait. That's coming up in November 22nd and 23rd at the Beansfield Center. So big shout out to Tim Hudak and Lou Favaro and Natasha and everybody at AREA. And, you know, I found out a couple of weeks ago that John D. Michelle and Trev are hosting their Realtor Quest in 2023. So events are coming back, and realtors, to, you know, in order to, you know, up their game or get back involved in the pulse of what the industry is offering, they need to attend these events. This is where you're going to build your networks. This is where you're going to learn. And this is where you're going to be able to engage and share and build your confidence in being, you know, those new leaders that our industry is, you know, so seeking right now. Our industry is changing. I see so many young entrepreneurs, young realtors who have used the power of social media to build their businesses instantly. David, it took me almost 20 years to, you know, to become recognized in my community, because we had the newspaper, we had the real estate book. We didn't have social media or websites, or we didn't even have realtor.ca when I first started, right? This new generation has so much that they are using to build their brands and their businesses quicker. So by attending the Buzz conference and any event that our associations put out is only going to help them now create bigger networks, real networks with real people that they can finally meet from inside a screen or from the palm of their hands. They can now meet these people live. And I'm telling you, there is no greater thrill than networking with your peers. I don't care what anybody says. I've been to hundreds of conferences all over the world, and there is no greater thrill than attending one live. So I'm hoping everybody's going to attend the Buzz conference.
Sure, it'll be well attended. Are you involved with the AREA one or Realtor Quest? Are you directly involved in any way?
No. I'm an attendee, and you know, I love having the support of Tim Hudak and his leadership team. They are a sponsor, they are a diamond sponsor of the Buzz conference. Tim is going to be opening up our event, so we're really excited to have Tim Hudak there. You know, you guys are our silver sponsor, Sutton Group Summit and Kormans Law. So we're just really fortunate to have the top leading people part of our conference. That gives us credibility. You give us credibility. Your sessions give you credibility. And then what you offer to the realtors and the attendees that they can put into their toolbox, that gives them the credibility when they are serving their communities and their clients. So it's all intertwined, isn't it? Definitely. We can't do this by ourselves. We have to, our slogan for the event is together, we are better.
Virginia,
Virginia, part of this, sorry, David, part of this is the way you come across when you're dealing with this. Like, it's your enthusiasm for the industry as a whole is contagious, and it gets everybody else excited about something like the Buzz conference, because we know how hard you work behind the scenes to get really good speakers there and top industry leaders and varied leaders, you know, different parts of the support system for the overall real estate industry. And I think everybody is excited to attend it. And it all starts with your enthusiasm and excitement, because I think you really have a passion for this. You really enjoy doing this. Like, you're not, it's not, I don't imagine like this is work to you. It seems like you just enjoy this.
I just have so much fun. You know, nothing gives me great pleasure than speaking with people every day. I speak with anywhere from, I don't know, 20 to 30 people a day on the telephone or on Zoom. I love learning and hearing stories. Whether you are a top producer or a new realtor, like I have a panel for new industry leaders over the last 2 years. They were actually really stunned that I invited them to speak on a panel. Why not? We want to hear how you started, why you started, and what you're doing to start, right? We need to give credit to everyone. I don't care if you're a CEO, a president, a vice president, or a brand new realtor. I believe we all have something to contribute. I've always believed that. And, you know, that's one thing that I think drives me to do this conference. You know, and a great example is speaking, you know, I speak with Jonathan Hacohen off and on the telephone. And again, like you mentioned earlier, David, we don't always talk about real estate. Sometimes we talk about law. He gives me some great advice, free. I don't have to pay for it, which is great. I'm only kidding. Sometimes we talk about his shoe collection. Recently, we spoke about, you know, family and health and wellness and mental health. We speak about, you know, our kids and our pets. This is what keeps us grounded and humble in our industry. And I just have a great appreciation for people who constantly put themselves out there and share their passion about the businesses that they're in, whether it's I'm a lawyer, I'm a prop tech developer, I'm a broker owner. You know, David, like yourself, I just learned that you're creating this awesome, you know, a real estate designation for the investor agent. These are things that drive me. And when I don't share this information with realtors across Canada, I'm leaving money on the table for you guys. Realtors need to stay educated and on the pulse of what's offered to them to help them build their brands and their businesses. If they say they're entrepreneurs, they need to know what's available. Who are the leading teams? Who are the leading brokerages? Who are the leading prop tech developers? What's the leading app? Who's the lawyer I can trust? Who's, you know, the home inspector that I can use? Who's the designer? Who's the stager? We just bring all of these people to the forefront of conversations. Realtors have to learn to listen and not to say, okay, I'm just going to pay for this and I'm just going to build my business. No, the realtors still have to put in the work, right? We have Jess Lenoble, who's the founder and CEO of Listings Lab. They're our title sponsor for the event. I want to give her a shout out. You know, she's got a platform that you can sign up for listing leads. You can sign up for it, but if you're not going to put in the work to get those leads, if you're not going to pay attention to the program and to the processes that are required to help you build your business, then you know what? You shouldn't have your real estate license, because being a realtor involves a lot of work. Trust me, I'm licensed for over 25 years. It's a lot of work and you have to put in the work. And for people that say, oh, I'm not door knock. Oh, I didn't get any leads because it didn't work for me. Well, what didn't work for you? Well, I tried door knocking, or I sent out a flyer. How many times did you do it? I only did it once and it didn't give me any results. Are you kidding me? You have to hit a consumer minimum 12, 15 times before they recognize you as being the authority in your industry. And that could be for any profession. You can't do something you can't have a real estate license and do something once and think that people are going to come to you to be the trusted authority for their real estate transaction. Real estate, we have been given such a privilege to help consumers, families, young and old, whether they're seniors, you know, single families, growing families, to help them in their dream of home ownership. And now with what's happening in our industry, we need to become the trusted advisor. So anything that we put out there, whether it's on social media, on print marketing, in a video, you better make sure that you come out across as being the leader in your community. Are we getting off topic here? Because it sounds like
Not
we
at
are.
all. I think
Anyways,
There's no such thing. No
I
such thing as
There's no
off
such
topic.
thing. More on
I know,
top
right?
podcast.
Just talk. Anyways, big shout out to Jess Lenoble. I love her. I love the Listings Lab. They're going to be there. They're also our lunch sponsor. So I can't wait to see her and meet her live. She's very passionate about teaching. And these are the people that we want to share at the Buzz Conference. We have so many people attending.
Yeah, we had Jess Lenoble in our brokerage doing a webinar
Nice.
ago, and it was phenomenal. She did a great job. A lot of our realtors have
Fantastic.
already been working with her. but she was very, very well received. So I'm looking forward to the keynote, and we're actually looking forward to having her on the David and David on Real Estate podcast. I think
Fantastic.
it's something that we're looking forward to as well.
Yeah, I also wanted to bring up something else. When we were first organizing, I was asking a few key people, who would you like to see as, some of our keynotes? So Jess is one of our keynotes. She's going to be talking about More Money, Less Hustle, which is the title of her book. But people were recommending, oh, you should get this person or that person, and they're all from the United States, and they're all celebrity style speakers all over social media. Over the last 2 years, we've seen and heard very difficult situations that have happened around the world, whether it's Black Lives Matter, or the Me Too movement, the Indigenous situation across Canada. A lot of us have been sharing on social media during those times, whether it's a quote or an orange tile or a black tile, without understanding the true meaning to what's actually happening in our world. And I really wanted to put meaning to this event. So we're having, and it came highly recommended by Bill Matter, who's someone that I respect so much. He is the CEO of the London Real Estate Association, the London St. Thomas Association of Realtors. And he recommended a young gentleman, a young entrepreneur by the name of Kendall Netmaker. So he's one of our keynote speakers, and he's a young Indigenous entrepreneur who wrote a book, and it's called Driven, the Ultimate Resiliency Formula, as well as a keynote that he often speaks of, From Poverty to Podium, because he's a young gentleman who has experienced living on the reservations with his family and brothers and sisters. These are the kind of stories that we want to bring to the forefront of conversation, because I think they humanize our brand. I mean, have people been listening to the stories out there? Do they know what's actually going on? So let's bring these people to talk about what they've experienced with home ownership, with living on reservations, with the news that's been coming up. Because I think as realtors, we owe ourselves that much to truly learn and listen to those experiencing it, rather than seeing it on social media in a post or a tile. So we're so looking forward to having Kendall Netmaker keynote in the morning sessions in Hammerson Hall. I wanted to share that with you, because I think that has more meaning than having a rah, I'm from New York or LA at a Canadian real estate conference.
Yeah, that's actually something I would look forward to. I'd love to attend the keynote and hear from him. But you're absolutely right. A lot of these issues, these issues that we've been discussing for such a long time, they ground you, right?
They do.
But in order for you to really be grounded, you really have to be in tune and actually understand the struggle that is real out there. And sometimes we live in our own bubble as realtors, as Canadians. David and I, we talk about this all the time. I always do the family test, right? If you're raising a family in the world, where do you live? Where do you raise your family? If you could raise them anywhere, where do you go? And with the whole situation happening in Europe right now, I think we're going to see a lot more people trying to make their way into the GTA, into Canada, and raise their family here. Right.
I agree with that. And it will happen. My parents are immigrants to Canada from Italy. They came when they were teenagers. And when they look at the news, I often go there every weekend. And when we watch the news, I see them in deep pain, because it's almost like they're reliving the horrors of what they experienced during the war, during the Great Depression, during, the Spanish flu. There's so much that they have not shared with us as children. And as adults, we're realizing now that, wow, this is what they've experienced. But, on a note of people coming to Canada, we had an immigration advisor on one of our shows in last summer, I believe it was, who shared the 3 top newcomers to Canada, and they were coming from China, India, and Nigeria. But I heard on the news the other day that we're going to start seeing an influx of, I think, people coming in from the Ukraine or even from Russia. I think our population right now is, they're looking at 413 or 411,000 newcomers to Canada every year for the next 5 years. So will they change the direction of where some of these newcomers are coming from because of what's happening overseas between Russia and the Ukraine? I think we're gonna start seeing a new influx for sure being added to that pool.
Well, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I agree that there will be this influx, but the majority of them are going to want to come eventually and settle in the GTA.
Yeah.
We already have a really big Russian community in the GTA. We have a really big Ukrainian community, very strong communities already. And that's just sort of the natural thing, that when others are coming, they want to have some familiarity. And as much as they may want to become, Canadians and adopt our Canadian values because it's a better life than where they're coming from in a lot of ways, they'll still be more comfortable being part of an already existing community. And it was no different when my grandparents immigrated as well. Like at the time, I know one of my grandfathers came from what's now Belarus area. It was part of Russia at the time. And when he came, he was told, well, he wanted to come to Toronto. He only knew about Toronto. This is like back in the 1920s. And Toronto, Montreal, want to go to, and Canada said, no, you can't go there, but we need people in Edmonton.
Right.
So you can go in Edmonton and herd cattle or something, which he
Right.
did in his way of getting here. And then he managed to bring a trainload of cattle to Toronto. He heard there was a train going to Toronto. They needed someone to help with the cattle. And that's how he ended up getting to Toronto, and then brought over the others of his family. But even back then, it was like the destination
You're
was
right.
Toronto.
Yeah,
And
you're
Canada
right.
said, "No, you
My
can't
parents
come to
landed
Toronto."
in Halifax.
Yeah.
On the Titanic style boat, right? Like,
Yep.
and then they made their way to Toronto. You're absolutely 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah. And there's a big attraction for the GTA. David and I talk about it all the time. And that's why, everybody talks about the GTA real estate bubble, and it never completely bursts because there's always this demand of people wherever they are, they want to come here. And then the next generation doesn't move out. They want to stay in the GTA. And then where are they going to live, and what are they going to afford? Right. So it's an interesting dynamic, but I think we're going to see that influx, and they're going to end up here somehow.
I agree with
Virginia,
you.
I agree with you. Like, I mean, we have to humanize, all these issues that are happening, and we have to be able to relate and really understand them, and not necessarily market to them, but be in tune with them. And if you can do that as a leader, as a realtor, as a person, you're going to attract a lot of good into your life.
Yeah. And then what we have to do too, because of all these newcomers and these new nationalities and cultures, is we also, as a professional, have to learn how to communicate and negotiate on their behalf. So I always mention it at our events. There's a great book called Kiss, Bow, and Shake Hands. And it teaches, it's storytelling on how professionals, entrepreneurs need to express themselves when they're dealing with clients from international destinations. It's so important that, do you shake hands? What's the first word that comes out of your mouth? Do you bow? Do you curtsy? What is it that you do? How do you negotiate? I know, for example, somebody like my dad, who still barely speaks English, he's very Italian, very traditional. He's got a specific way on how to negotiate a deal. It's like, if that's my price, there is no coming in under that list price, right? But that's often the same as any European, because every European client I've had is similar to my dad. It's, I remember, listing a property for him, and somebody came in under ask price, and he's like, what was the list price again? Sign it back higher, right? Because they feel offended if you are challenging them on value, not on price, but on value. And it's just an interesting book. I encourage everyone to read it. Kiss, Bow, and Shake Hands.
So what would his opinion be on the strategy that so many agents use these days of putting the list price way below the market value just to entice the multi offers? Like that must drive him crazy and that generation crazy.
Yeah, you
right?
know,
Because they
that's
grew up based on like what's the real price? What's the real value? Like
right.
that should be the starting point as opposed to what's going on in the industry these days.
You know, David, I think you said something really key earlier. You know, what's driving prices right now is this new buyer that's coming into Canada. There's not enough housing. I think it was Canada stated in the news they 1.5 million homes to supply to the growing to the growing need of potential homeowners. And are builders building that fast? I don't see it. I just don't see it. But people are pricing properties right now. In Oakville, I'm sorry, there's townhouses here that sold pre-COVID for 600. They're selling for 1.4, 1.5 million right now. I don't get it. Those people are selling thinking, wow, I just struck a gold mine. I just won a lottery, because that's what they're doing. They're making $1 million on their homes. But now they've got to go and buy a detached house. And those detached houses, which were 1.5 pre-COVID, are now 2.5, right? So you got to be really careful. And I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, my dad's an avid investor, retired when he was 35. But I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, I remember he said, I need you to translate. You need to come into the kitchen. I got the bank coming over today. And he gave me 3 keys. And he said, you got to ask them which one they want. Because what's going to happen, and I'm only predicting this, is let's say the mortgage rates increase and we see a slight change. Those people that sold high and bought even higher, what's going to happen if they're on a variable? What's going to happen if that interest rate changes and all of a sudden their mortgage payments increase even by $100, $300, $500? The thing is, we don't know where the rates are going. So we can't, as a realtor, we can't even assume to know what's going to happen. But that's all that worries me right now, is what's going to happen to property values once interest rates shift. Will people still be able to afford the prices that they've paid for in these homes? And again, a price right now is what a willing buyer and a willing seller is willing to agree on. That's what market value is right now, not a price that a realtor is putting on a listing. That's what I see. And I could be wrong.
But we're already starting to see a shift. You know, we're already starting to see the market adjust. We're already starting to see pockets and communities adjust. We're already starting to see, listing agents actually having conversations, and asking for the offer, which is very different than the market that we've seen in the last 2 years. And, I think even Virginia, when you mentioned the whole DocuSign and not sitting at the table negotiating offers, I think some of that was also attributed to the type of market that we've seen in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Sellers were basically saying, hey, if you want my house, this is it. Thank you and goodbye. The end of the negotiation process, right? Because that's the position that they were put in. No inventory, and they really controlled the conversation.
Yeah.
And as the market shifts, we're going to see realtors having to work a lot harder and having to work way more together to put the deal together. And the art of the deal, negotiating and sitting in front, and you talk to your buyers, I'll talk to my buyers, you get them to come down 5,000, I'll get my buyers to go up for 5,000, and having all those conversations and reigniting the art of the deal is going to be a lot more commonplace, I think, in a market that is a lot less biased towards the sellers.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Wayne competed last night, 7 offers on a condo that was probably purchased for about $350. And any given market would have been worth about $450. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. And 7 offers later, he lost, and he went in under 750. 2-bedroom, 1 bath.
Did he really lose?
Well, I think his clients won by not winning the offer. Right? Come
I'll
on.
tell you something else. I can guarantee the offers that came in, it's on a condo and they were unconditional offers, not conditional upon reviewing a status certificate. And there may have been 7 different lawyers involved that had to review a status certificate in advance of them putting in those offers. And only one is successful. And the other 6, not only did they lose on the offer, they got to go buy something else, but they also, got a bill to pay the lawyers for reviewing a status certificate when they couldn't get that unit.
Right.
So, there's a lot of factors in this market, and I think everybody's sort of looking forward to there being more supply and getting back to the art of negotiation.
I don't see it. I don't see it. All I know is that when you have a willing buyer and a willing seller that agree on a price, that's market value, period.
Yep. But the offers these days, like the agents aren't even negotiating conditions, no inspection, no status review, no condition on financing. You got to get all that done in advance, and then, and then a clean offer. So all they're really talking about is price, the amount of the deposit, and the closing date.
Right. Exactly. You're right. You're right about that.
Very, very interesting environment that we've had to endure for the last 2 years, and I think it's going to change, it's going to shift, it's going to evolve, and I think that's the beauty of our industry, and I think that's exactly why the Buzz conference is so monumentally important, is because it brings all those industry leaders and the people who want to make a difference under one roof,
and the discussions, right? Yeah, 100%. The discussions are really important.
So, everybody gets to collaborate and work together and learn, and we really understand what's happening out there, and we draw on each other's experience, which is really important. I think the whole industry, including consumers, really benefit from that collaboration as well.
I had a consumer panel at one of my conferences at the Living Arts Center. It was moderated by Nelson Goulart, who is the broker owner of Better Homes and Gardens. He's a dear friend and a great mentor of mine. He had a consumer panel, and it was jammed. It was in the RBC Theater, and the consumers were answering questions from the audience. And actually, realtors were actually getting upset because the consumer was letting the realtors know areas that they can improve on. And we want to be better represented. I think if that session were to go on the 31st, I think there would be a war, because I'm not sure if the consumer is being represented well. That's just my personal opinion right now. I feel strongly that realtors are in a challenging position when it comes to determining a final price between a buyer and a seller. But to communicate these things, there's more buyers losing than there are winning. If there's 7, Wayne was also on another offer with 41 offers. Only one person won. So where are those 40 other families going? There's not enough inventory that's coming on the market. I remember, and you'll remember this too, David Gorski, I remember sometimes it used to take me, sometimes 200 days to sell a house. 3 months, 2 months, 7 months, 1 year. I had a listing, over a year it took me to sell. Put that house on the market today, it's gone with 30 offers. I can guarantee it, right? Wayne and I often talk about this. But this is our industry right now. And is there something wrong with it? I don't think so. I think that's just how real estate is right now. Will it change? Not as long as we keep bringing newcomers to Canada. There's going to be a strong need for residential real estate. One area that I think is going to improve and increase over the next 2 to 3 years, because there's not enough property to supply even for investors. I think commercial real estate is going to become very popular in the coming years, because the prices have come down for commercial, and to rent those properties out now that the country is opening up and people are out, and the passport and the COVID and the vaccination and maybe the mask, I think you're going to start to see a lot more entrepreneurs come out and say, hey, time for me to open up that business that I couldn't open during the last 2 years during lockdown. I need to go out and look for commercial space. So commercial space, I think, is going to make a big, big comeback. That's my prediction.
I was actually really surprised that more commercial landlords were not fire selling their properties at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
I remember there was a gentleman that used to run along, I think, College or King Street, one or the other, or Queen Street. And like he used to run the same route like every day for the last 10 years. And he made an Instagram post where he posted that he runs in like a 1 kilometer section. And I think there were like 97 empty spaces for lease.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. And that number has like gone up by like tenfold in the last 2 months because of COVID. And I thought to myself, wow, these commercial landlords, they're gonna start fire selling these properties.
Yeah.
Except I was dead wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong than ever. And real estate investing is a long-term play. And to me, that was a clear sign that every single investor not only believes in the long-term viability of a real estate market, but if anything, quadruple down on that strategy.
Yeah.
Because for us not to see any of those commercial places list for sale in those times was the most ridiculous thing that, I thought we're going to experience in the industry. But people just believe in the long-term play, safety and security of a real estate, period.
Real estate is long-term. I agree. And, I even look at, downtown Oakville, or, I have one son that lives at Bathurst and Eglinton, and another son that lives at, Queen and Spadina, and I'm down there often. So driving down these streets, I see all these stores that are vacant, empty, but I have this feeling in the next 2 quarters, I think they're going to be filled up again. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, I do a lot of leasing work, and it's pretty active right now, commercial leasing.
Yeah, see?
And the commercial clients that I deal with, like generally, like you say, their basic strategy is to buy, improve, lease up, and hold, not to sell. But I've got a couple clients that have sold properties recently just because the offers were too good to refuse. Like there was one property, I think they've owned it for about 4 or 5 years. They paid 3-point-something million for it. And then we just recently completed the sale and it was over 13 million. Wow. So they, now they put some money into it. They improved, they leased it up. They did a great job leasing, and I did all the leasing work on it, but it was like, they couldn't pass it up. But what they did with the money, and everybody took some money out of it, but they immediately bought 2 other properties. And, to use that money to buy the next 2 properties and do the same thing. They're going to, improve it physically, lease it up, and with the intention to hold. So, right. There's some activity both ways, but they're not having problems leasing it up right now. And they haven't in the last year or so, even during COVID. They've been finding commercial right. tenants to go in. Certain industries got wiped out and got hit hard, but there's others that are still thriving. And they're getting them leased up and the values are there. So it's a great strategy for anybody.
I agree.
To be in, and still the same buy and hold, buy, improve, and then hold.
I agree. Yeah. My dad used to own in Port Credit. He used to, right now in Oakville, they're building these live work where you can serve customers and have your business below, and then you live up atop. So my dad used to own like strips of these old live works. And I always thought they were just so, wow, like you can have a business down and live upstairs, but very small. But that's how my dad became a real estate investor. But I see people doing it here now in Oakville. These live works in Oakville, commercial and residential space, are selling for, they originally through Mattamy, they were about $750. They're selling now in today's market for around 1.5 to 1.8. And I tell my dad these stories. I'm like, see, you should have waited to sell those particular ones. It's like, it's time, right? Every time has a new price point. But you take that money, once you sell it, you take it, and like your friend did, David, is he invested in 2 more properties, right? Then he's probably right. Gonna sell those 2, and then maybe he'll invest in 4 more properties. So timing is everything right now, but it really takes confidence and that no fear attitude to say, I want to be a real estate investor. And I think a lot more realtors right now are going to start looking at commercial space, because the condominium market is booming too, right? I know a lot of realtors who are heavily invested themselves personally in condominiums, but I see a few of them that I've spoken to have mentioned that, yeah, I bought a commercial space, I'm going to start renting it out to a local business. Let anybody know that, I've got this address available. So I see realtors now even jumping on the commercial bandwagon.
Yeah. And that's an important trend for us to really keep an eye on. When I first took over Sutton Summit Realty, we had a realtor here that's been with the brokerage for a really long time. And, he's in his 80s and he's still selling real estate. And he's not selling real estate because he loves selling real estate. It's one of those situations where he has to keep selling real estate to keep paying his bills.
Right.
And this is a big issue in our industry because realtors are self-employed entrepreneurs, right? And part of the reason I got involved with InAgent is because I really want to encourage my realtors to not only help their clients build wealth by investing in real estate, but I want them to build wealth and to create that retirement plan for themselves, not only their clients, by investing in real estate.
And I think that's so important. Those were never discussions 30 years ago in any brokerage. And I think any brokerage that has a conversation piece for their realtors to learn how to become investor realtors, I think that's something that will help them to build equity for the future. Debbie Kosick is a great example. She does pre-construction at Intuition Realty. And her team, they have a pool of realtors where they invest and buy condominiums. Any brokerage that helps their realtors build equity is the brokerage of the future. That's something that if you don't do it, you're going to leave money on the table.
Yeah,
it's also a great segue into mentioning what we're going to be speaking about at Buzz too, because we're doing. I'm very excited that we're doing this actual live seminar on professional corporations for real estate agents. That's now a vehicle that helps a real estate agent get ahead and have some certain tax advantages. And we're going to discuss the pros and the cons and how it's not for every agent, but that's part of the discussion we're going to have. And David and I are doing that together with Jonathan Hacohen and Brett Starkman, who's a chartered accountant, fabulous accountant. So we'll get his tax opinion on that as well. And that's one of the tools that agents can now use to help them create that wealth and have better tax advantage to their profession, which is as a realtor, and how to use that and leverage that.
Yeah, I think the PREC is for realtors to truly understand it. I want them all to go, to that session. If I would have known, David, that I just learned of InAgent recently over the last week. And if I would have known that, I would have had that session, because I believe that is the designation that every single realtor is going to want and need. That InAgent designation for the investor realtor is very important. So if you've got that designation, if you've got the PREC, and if you've got the experience and the database, oh, wow, isn't real estate going to be a great place to be?
It becomes easy. Like the whole idea of InAgent is how to prospect and lead gen in a completely different way, right? Like I have so many realtors coming to my office, brand new realtors, and the first question they ask me is, do we provide leads, right? And I say to them, okay, you want me to give you a meal? I said, great, let me give you a meal today. You're going to knock on my door tomorrow, you're going to ask me for another meal? I'm going to give you a meal again tomorrow. But if as a brokerage, if I teach you how to fish, you will never be hungry ever again in your life. Now, what sounds more appealing? And as soon as I tell them that, that example, they never bring it up again. A light bulb goes on and they get it. And real estate is amazing. Real estate is a great business. When you help other people, it becomes easy, right? And that's what InAgent is all about. It's about prospecting, and it's about having different level of conversations with everybody around you.
But I believe that designations also allow the consumer to look at us in a totally different way. It's like, the seniors designation, the accredited buyers designation, the seller designation, the luxury marketing designation. Now we've got an investor designation. Barry Lebo has the senior designation that I took, and I absolutely loved that course and continue to love it. But where do leads come from? I always tell people there's a door. Open it and go outside. That's where the leads are. They're not going to be here in the computer screen. You have to go out and create those opportunities for yourself. And I always find there's a little bit of fear factor with people. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to go talk to people. And now after 2 years of being indoors, and now everything's going to open up Canada wide. Oh my gosh, I got to go outside now. Oh my gosh, I got to buy a ticket to the buzz conference. Oh my gosh, I got to talk to people. Yeah, you do, because you're the one who has your license to become a real estate agent. So go talk to people, go build trust, go build relationships, go ask questions, go hear stories, go out the door.
Yeah, absolutely. Our top performers are seldom in the office. I mean, they call us, we're in touch with them constantly, but we don't see them in the office, right? Because they're out there, they're talking to their clients, right? They're, shaking hands and kissing babies and forging relationships.
I love that. I had a great conversation with David Greenspan the other day. Actually, it was all through DM. So I have to, give credit to these mobile devices, but there was some conversations going on in a Facebook group, and I rarely go to Facebook anymore, and I deleted myself off of many Facebook groups because I just found them to be too noisy. But we had a conversation, and we also, after reading that conversation, we believe that the top 1% agents are doing business. The other 99% agents are complaining about the business. And that's the only difference. You've got the complainers and you've got the top 1%. And when I look at the speakers that we have at the Buzz Conference, they are the ones who don't complain. The difference is they do the work. They do the work. They build their business. They build relationships. They're out there. That's the difference. And I don't care what anybody says, is people who are complaining are the ones who aren't doing the business. Yeah, and they got to stay off Facebook. They got to stay off Facebook.
There's a lot of part-time agents still in the industry and think they can do this on the side or supplement whatever their job is, and they'll have their designation just when they get, family or friends or something like that. But they're not the successful agents. You run out of family and friends pretty fast for deals. And what the top agents all have in common is they outwork everybody. It's no different than in most other industries.
Yeah.
Right. They out hustle everybody, and they're looking for the edge, and they're looking for the next technology. And it's and that's across most industries. The top players in the NHL are the guys that practice the hardest. Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews, like, they're working on their skating and their shots more than anybody. And and the top basketball players are taking more free throws than everybody else in practice. They all work hard. That's the common denominator.
And you also have to look at another quote from a dear friend and our co-host of the Buzz Conference, Melissa Salazar. Who's in your square, right? Who's in your square? Whoever's in your square has to be equally a contributor to the industry. Your lawyer, your mentor, your coach, your lead gen, platform, your apps, your team members, your broker, whoever, who's in your square doing the work, because you feed off of each other, right? And if you're going to just spend the day engaging in garbage, then that's your business. Your business isn't going to be great. Your business is just going to be drama. And real estate, as realtors, we did such an amazing job over the last 2 years, telling the community how much we care about them. We got involved in philanthropy initiatives, in corporate responsibility. We were giving. We volunteered at the soup kitchen. We bought food. We helped with, young mums and young dads, and we did things in the community. We delivered to people in our community. We created a great space for our industry. We showed our communities we care. We can't afford to mess that up right now. We need to be that trusted realtor and advisor, but we also need people to know that we are still those trusted community supporters in anything from sports, recreation, supporting local businesses, whatever it may be. Our job is really hard as a realtor. We continuously have to put ourselves out there. So we have to do it right. Another girl, I speak with people every day. I spoke with Cheryl Easton yesterday. She's a realtor and a philanthropist out from Bancroft. And her quote was, credibility creates my income.
Wow.
Right? Credibility creates my income.
Mhm.
So I have to make sure that I am never bitter. I always have to be better. And I just love talking to people every day, because those are the things that inspire me and make me believe that, okay, we're on the right path. These are the people that we want in our square, right? Credibility, that's the new ROI, I think.
And that's the importance of attending a buzz conference, because it gives everybody that inspiration. Take it to the next level. Here's the latest, the greatest. Here's the trends. And we all have to be on top of it. And we're only 2 weeks away from this fabulous event. And then what,
Can't
Virginia?
wait. A lot of pressure.
What's the next one? Is the next one already being planned?
We have a few things that we're working on right now, and we're being, kind of like petitioned for different locations Canada-wide. We've also been invited to do a buzz in Europe. So we're looking at a few different things, but for sure, we think we're going to put luxury, prop tech, and fall residential all in one to have our first 3-day event. Because planning this 1-day event was very difficult, especially postponing it. And the reason why we only did it as a 1-day event is because of COVID. We didn't want so many people every single day. But I think by the end of the year, we'll be okay. We'll be good to go. But we will have
There'll be another event in the fall.
It will be a fall event. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Amazing.
Fabulous.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first on the David and David show.
We got an
On the David
exclusive.
and David on real estate.
Yeah.
But Virginia, that word professionalism, I compare realtors to doctors, right? I compare realtors to lawyers. I mean, what's sad in our industry is the educational component is really lacking, right? The designation component, because I think in order to become a realtor, it should be like a 1-year university course or a 2-year university course and a mentorship aspect to it. Like, I want to raise the bar in the industry, and I want realtors to become more educated and I want to increase that professionalism in the industry, right? I think we need to. I think it's always the few that ruin it for the majority, but
No, we're not going to talk about them. We're not going to talk about the ruiners.
we're not talking about them. But I love this industry, and I want to see realtors keep raising the bar, keep investing in themselves. It's an amazing industry where it keeps evolving. It keeps changing. You have to keep pushing yourself and keep learning. Like, I've been in this industry, my whole life practically, and I'm still learning every day. And, David, we talk about that all the time on our podcast, right?
I agree. We have, and I put them in touch with you too, David. We have NIIT, which is, if you love Netflix, and if you're always on Netflix scrolling and with your converter, you're going to love NIIT. So they're kind of like the Netflix of real estate. It is a platform that they will be launching at the Buzz Conference. That gives us great pleasure to be doing that. And what they're going to be showcasing, not to give away too much, is they've got a platform for realtors called XSEL. So, and that's all I'm going to say right now, but it will be a way for realtors to become more educated and informed. And again, When you're educated and informed, you are more professional, you are more ethical. You know, you have a different representation in the industry. And people who are educated and informed with designations and higher education, they articulate themselves much better with the consumer. And that's how you build trust and credibility. So I encourage everyone, if they haven't done it over the last 2 years, when there was a lot of time to be doing so, is take a course, take a designation, learn something new, find a mentor. These are the people that help you build a more profitable and professional real estate business. I was so fortunate. Loretta Finney was my greatest mentors, Loretta and Ron. They gave me my first chances. And those, I'll always remember how hard they worked. I've never seen harder working couple in my life in real estate. So, you know, it's always interesting when we think about that word professionalism. It's how you articulate your value. And if you're still speaking the same way as you spoke when you took your course 30 years ago, then you're not in tune with 2022 and the future. You've got to have more. You've got to offer more. You know why? Because the consumer expects it. The consumer is actually as educated as we are, because they've got this thing called Google, and they can find any information they want from the palm of their hands. So how, as realtors, are we supposed to differentiate ourselves as being the authorities in this ever-changing real estate industry, right?
No, professionalism is key in every industry. Like, you know, would either of you want to go to a lawyer to close your real estate transaction if they just work part-time?
Right.
You know, or you want to go someone that's doing it full-time and all the time and has professional staff. So, you know, I look at it that way too. And your industry, like, it's important, and you have to stay on top of the latest and the greatest and the new trends and what's coming next, and take advantage of content that's out there for free. You know, like,
right.
I know David's brokerage and others, they're constantly offering, you know, webinars, and then we'll do back to live seminars, and things get recorded. And if you miss it, there's still a chance to see it. And all the agents should be taking advantage of those things. Yeah. And lawyers too. It's the same thing in my industry. I hate dealing with a lawyer that's not on top of things or trying to practice like he did 20 years ago. Doesn't help me do my job. So, you know, agents, there's so much out there, that content that's available. And then how can you not go to something like the Buzz conference? Like really, it's a no-brainer. You've got to be attending these type of things.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing this just to plug it. It's
no, it's
important.
okay. Keep plugging away.
Okay. But I attend the same type of things in my business too. And, you know,
right.
and I'm going to be at the Buzz anyways. Even if I wasn't speaking or we weren't doing a live podcast, I'd still be there. And I'm going to be at Realtor Quest, because it's important for us to know what's going on in the industry. But I also attend all kinds of lawyer education, you know, seminars and webinars too, because I got to find out, you know, and share our thoughts with other lawyers and see what the next is. And that's all speaks to our professionalism.
And you know what? It's your responsibility to do so, just like it's our responsibility to do so as well. Right. And what I love about, you know, brokerages, you know, David mentioned, you know, a couple of events that he had at Sutton Group, is brokerages also have a duty of care for their realtors and their brokerages. If you know what your realtors want, and some brokerages stopped communicating with their agents over the last 2 years, but others that stayed on the pulse, they know what their realtors want. So they create these Zoom calls, complimentary, part of the brokerage, featuring speakers and trainers and teachers and designations and lawyers, and whoever needs the help, know they can always go there. But if you don't provide it, you're doing a big disservice to your brokerage. So it's nice to see that you're doing that at Sutton Group, David. I think it's really important that you ask your realtors, each and every one, send an email out. Listen, this is what we're looking at doing for the remainder of 2022. What are some of the topics you believe can be of interest to helping you build a more profitable and professional real estate business? Let us know your thoughts, and we're going to create an agenda for you for complimentary training, right? Because I think we owe that to our real estate agents. We can't just rely on the education they got at Humber College or at AREA years ago when AREA used to do education, right? And that's where NIT is coming in. That's the type of education they're going to be offering too. So that's why I put them in touch with you, David.
Yeah, no, I already connected with Alexander. I can't wait to actually have that meeting and hear what they're all about. And not to get into too many details here because we want everybody to attend and see them at the Buzz conference, but I'm really looking forward to connecting with them.
Yeah, awesome.
Well,
Virginia,
one thing we talk about all the time when we do these podcasts, David and I, is leadership, and both of us try and be leaders and mentors in our own part of the real estate industry, and that's important. And that's what we hope that people. I hope other lawyers watch. David hopes other owner brokers watch. In addition to real estate agents.
Yeah.
But having you on is another key component of that. Like, I don't know who else is, that we could point to that's more of a leader in industry or more at their pulse on what's going on than you. And you managed to put this together in something like a Buzz conference to share this and bring everybody together to share these ideas and the next technology and where the trends are going. So thank you so much for,
my pleasure.
For your efforts and your enthusiasm, because it's certainly infectious. And I'm so glad that we've now gotten involved in this, and for the foreseeable future. I think it's just great, and it's going to help raise the whole industry to the next level. So thank you, Virginia.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I am so looking forward to seeing both of you guys live in person on the 31st. It's going to be a really big treat. And, I think everybody's looking forward to that live element as well.
I think so too. I should go find a red carpet and we'll do a red carpet entry. And we want everybody to come early. So I'm not sure when you're going to be posting this podcast, but the networking starts at 7:30 in the morning. We've got coffee and muffins, compliments from CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association. Sharon von Schoenberg from CREA Global is actually going to be there, and they're our morning sponsor. So we hope that you will all join in a really great day.
Amazing. Looking forward to it
live. And Virginia, I think you've convinced me. Not only when I see you, I'm going to bow, I'm going to shake hands, and there might even be a
kiss,
hug
bow,
there.
and shake hands. Let's just do
and
it
there
all.
might be a hug there too, if that's appropriate. Because it'd be so nice to be at a live event with everyone. And David gets the same thing.
I love it.
I was going to ask you about that next, David.
I love it. We'll see you guys there. And everybody can visit the Buzz Conference on Instagram and also the buzzconference.com for the website. But if you visit the Instagram page and you click on the first link, you can get your tickets. They're still available.
Amazing. But they're selling out fast, so don't wait.
Yes.
It is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you guys soon.
Thanks
See ya.
so much.
Have a great day, guys. Be safe.